This right here is the M1 MacBook Air, and yes, I believe that it's the perfect laptop. Now obviously, no laptop can be truly perfect because that's impossible, but as we've been testing it over the last 4 months and comparing it to its competition, it's becoming more and more clear that nothing out there stands a chance. So in this long-term review, I'm going to discuss why I think the M1 MacBook Air is so good. I'm going to talk about how it compares to some of the most popular Windows laptops out there, and then I'm going to finish off with the small number of downsides as well, so let's get right into it. In our 2-week review of the M1 Air way back then, we admitted that we were wrong, and if you haven't seen it, let me give you a quick rundown. When Apple first revealed their new M1 Mac lineup, we thought for sure that the M1 MacBook Pro would be the better buy because it came with a fan, and therefore it would perform a lot better compared to the MacBook Air. But as we started digging in and comparing the two, we found that the Air was keeping up so well that it doesn't make sense to pay the extra $300 for the Pro. And then one day, we modded this M1 Air by simply adding a couple of thermal pads onto the heat sinks, and the performance skyrocketed to levels surprisingly close to the Pro. And to our surprise, it actually outperformed the Pro in a couple of the tests. So at that point, we basically said that it no longer makes sense for anyone to buy the M1 MacBook Pro because of how good this M1 Air is at a much lower price. Now, part of the reason is because the Pro is gonna get completely redesigned in just a few months, so it's definitely not the right time to buy the Pro. But in the case of the Air, most rumors are pointing to a new model coming out over a full year from now, and it's getting a full redesign, so it'll most likely come at a higher $1,200 price tag. So because of that, it makes total sense to buy the M1 Air right now because you can find it on Amazon for as low as $950 by checking out the links in the video description. But getting back to why the M1 Air is so good, I want to start off by saying that I'm definitely not alone. Dave2D recently made a video on it, concluding that the new Air is such a good value right now that it's hard not to recommend it over everything else out there. And analysts have been projecting very optimistic sales for Macs over the next few years, mostly being driven by the new Apple Silicon M1 chip, so yeah, it's that good. But other than that, the M1 Air is just incredibly solid all around. The aluminum build quality is simply unmatched at this $1,000 price point, with the Air still being incredibly thin for the amount of power that it packs. The fanless design has been amazing, never having to worry about the fans blasting anymore. The new always-on feature is a much bigger deal than many people make it out to be, since you never have to wait those couple of seconds when opening it back up after standby. And just as it's always been, the hinge design is perfectly weighted for one-handed opens every time. The keyboard is fantastic due to Apple finally ditching those butterfly keys. The speakers are great, sounding incredibly clear and packing loud volume, and same with the microphones, giving you great quality that's not always guaranteed on other laptops. But there was one very important change that confirmed our opinion on the M1 Air being the best choice, and that was the fact that the Air finally got the same P3 wide color gamut as the Pro has, making it an excellent display even if it's limited to 400 nits of brightness. So on the hardware and build quality side, the M1 MacBook Air is an excellent laptop, but what truly made it great was actually the software. Basically everyone was expecting there to be massive software issues when the M1 Macs first launched due to it using a totally different computing architecture. But as it turns out, that never really happened. Right out of the gate, Rosetta 2 took care of most of the apps that people use on a daily basis with ease. And the crazy thing is that single-core performance under Rosetta still beat out every other Mac out there, so common apps ended up working just fine. Yes, the whole software thing hasn't been perfect, especially for plugins and things like that, but after only 4 months, it's incredible just how fast things have improved, and it's only looking up from here. So in terms of an overall package, from the performance and the battery life to the build quality and reliability, the M1 MacBook Air is a killer value for just $999. Now, of course, there are some downsides, but before I get into that, it's time to get into the fun part, comparing the Air to its competition over on the Windows side. One of the most premium Windows laptops out there is the Dell Xps, which to some is the MacBook of the Windows world due to its premium build quality and design. The latest Dell XPS actually starts at the same $999 price as the MacBook Air, but unfortunately, it comes with an extremely slow i3 chip with slower G4 graphics, and the display quality is quite a bit worse as well. Now, because of that, we went for a much more expensive i7 model, which starts at least $1,300 if you can get it on sale. The MacBook Air ended up being faster in basically every single way. And here's the interesting part. The XPS loses a ton of performance when you unplug the charging cable, which the MacBook doesn't do at all. On top of that, the XPS has worse speaker quality, worse webcam quality, and worse battery life. So there you go, the XPS was easily taken care of by the M1 MacBook Air while coming in at a lower price. We then tested out the new 14-inch LG Gram for $1,200, which is one of the latest Windows laptops with a lot of hope around it. And of course, the M1 MacBook Air absolutely destroyed it in every single way. The build quality was terrible because of how hard they tried to lower the weight, making it incredibly flimsy. The display quality was much worse, especially due to the crazy amount of reflectivity. The trackpad was one of the worst we've seen in a while, the speakers were bad, the webcam was bad, and the performance was of course worse, even though it's the best Intel laptop chip out there for laptops right now. And making it even worse, the performance absolutely tanked during longer term workloads, like being over twice as slow as the Air in Cinebench R23, and the MacBook Air was 60% faster in a real-world Lightroom Classic photo export, even though it was running under Rosetta 2 and not natively. So just like the XPS, the LG Gram also got killed by the M1 MacBook Air in terms of value. Now here is the funny part. People have always made fun of Apple for selling overpriced laptops. But for the first time ever, the reality has flipped, and the MacBook Air is now a much better value than its competitors. And for the first time ever, these Windows laptops are now seen as overpriced compared to a Mac. And the main reason for that is, of course, the new ARM-based M1 chip, allowing Apple to save money while greatly boosting performance. And now, companies are starting to take the Apple Silicon transition seriously, and they're starting to consider following in Apple's footsteps by making laptops with ARM-based chips. But either way, Apple currently has a massive lead because they're the only company out there who controls the software, the chip, and the laptop itself all at the same time, giving them a massive advantage. And looking at Microsoft, they're still behind, not even having 64-bit emulation working well on their Surface Pro X ARM-based laptops. So with all that said, the situation is looking great for Apple, but now let's finish with the downsides. Of course, it only officially supports one external display, but on the plus side, you can easily get around that if you really need more by using special adapters and software, and if you think about it, most people just use the laptop itself. Another downside, there are only 2 Thunderbolt-capable ports, but keep in mind that the Air has always had that for the last few years. Now, I was gonna call the 720p webcam a downside, but it just looks so much better than the ones in the Dell XPS and the LG Gram, so it's definitely not that bad. And one of the biggest issues is that you can't run Boot Camp to play games. But this isn't that big of a deal since the previous Intel MacBook Air overheated so much that games were completely unplayable, even with an external GPU. Trust me, I tried it. And thankfully, there are some other options for gamers, like using Parallels or Crossover. And games like League of Legends and World of Warcraft play great, and so will anything in the future that comes with Apple Silicon support. But other than that, it's really hard to find any other negatives about the M1 Air because the value at $999 is just so good for everything that you're getting. So hopefully you enjoyed this review, and if you did, go ahead and click the circle above to subscribe for more videos like this one. Definitely check out one of these two videos right there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.